This week, Chad comes to you live from a mystery, undisclosed location somewhere in the United States, and we've got racing action from MWXC and Tex Plex. So strap in as we bring you up to the race pace. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Race Pace, sponsored by CW Motorsports. I'm Doug.
And I'm Chad.
And for once, we actually have racing information to bring you on a racing show.
Yeah, last week we just took a week off because there really wasn't anything local that was going on. The only thing that was going on was Tex Plex. And we had some like remote reporting type stuff, so we appreciate that.
Exactly. Now, Rachel Cheatwood has come through once again with results from Tex Plex, and we're actually going to start, since she's the one that took the time to get us this information. We're going to start down in the 900 cc's where she runs, and she actually took second place, had a good run down there.
Yep.
Dylan Fontenot took first place, Christian Gaston in third, Tyler Bunch in fourth, and Langston Lane rounds up the top five in that class. And looks like they had 9 run, which is not a bad showing because, honestly, under 900s are getting a little bit more rare than they were.
Yeah, especially as race machines. There's still quite a few of them out there on the trails, but as race machines, there's just getting less and less of them out there.
Well, and with 1000cc machines becoming more and more common, honestly, you can usually buy a decent 1000 like for not a whole lot more money if you're going to go racing.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, moving up into Pro NA, which is where Jubal Cheatwood is hanging out. He finished 9th, had a little bit of a rough time, it looks like, but still, not last place. Looks like they had 12 people running in that class. Cross Kirkmeyer, first place. Colin Truitt in second. Caden Baker in third. Cody Martin running fourth. And Sean Hess rounds out the top 5. So, first and fifth are both Hondas.
Yeah.
And looks like 10th place Elliott Cook, who finished just under Jubal, is also in a Honda. So we're starting to see some of the Hondas getting a little more heavily involved in the racing.
That's kind of not surprised for some of the terrain like Tex Plex have. They have wider turns, wider track, stuff like that, where the Hondas just don't have the turning radius of others. So the tight XC stuff, I've seen them kind of struggle. But for Tex Plex, they're great out there.
If you got that little more wide open track, then the machines definitely seem like they're a little bit more at home.
Yeah.
And Pro Turbo, Hunter Miller taking top honors again. Kyle Hart in second, Cody Miller running third, Ronnie Anderson in fourth, and Nick Burnham rounding out the top 5 there. So some names you typically see in the top 5 are still in the top 5.
Yep, they're there for a reason. They're all quick guys with quick cars and good driving skills. So, like you said, no big surprise that you could pretty much throw that whole group into a hat right there, pull it out, and they may or may not be the one to win this week.
Exactly. In fact, if we weren't back to racing because they wouldn't let us yet, you probably could have done that and come up with a pretty reasonable season.
Yeah, would have been close.
Like an imaginary season.
Yep.
So, and as one expects, Can-Am very well represented, taking first, second, third, and fifth. And we actually had a Polaris up there in fourth, one of the new
Pro
XPs. But out of 11 buggies, 2 Polaris, and 9 Can-Ams.
Yeah.
So.
Well, for racing, we've talked about it. The X3s are just great. The Pro XPs are still kind of sorting everything out. I'm not saying they, don't hold their own, but it's a brand new machine.
Yeah, but they're starting to see some interesting race results out of them. Honestly, I think once the aftermarket catches up and, like you said, people start getting a little more feel for them, tuning for them, some aftermarket stuff starts appearing, it could be interesting. Like we've said before, I don't know that this is a Can-Am killer. I don't know that it was supposed to be a Can-Am killer. Just the next evolution for Polaris. They needed a more sport-driven machine, and definitely seem to have one. It's starting to look competitive in some of these races.
Yeah, I think they're going the right direction with it, for sure.
So that was Tex Plex. We didn't make it all the way down there. However, this is Monday. We're recording a little bit late because things got crazy this weekend. But on Saturday, we did have MWXC, and you actually got to ride in that race.
I did. I wasn't really planning on riding, but kind of typical of me. If I'm going to a race, I'll just pitch my helmet in there because I don't want someone to get to the race with their buggy and then be like, oh, I can't race because my co-pilot didn't show up. So I always just throw a helmet in. And I was talking to some of the guys on the way there, and they said, Chad, do you want to ride? I said, I'll take a ride. It's fine. And,
sure.
Matt Hecker had his co-pilot back out, I guess, so he needed ballast in the passenger seat, and that was me. So
now, Matt's got a new machine for this season. He's up in a 2020, right?
He is. He's running a 2020 X3, and he's, typical for Matt. He has got it tricked out pretty nice with tune and some other stuff, but it's just a monster. The thing is fast. There wasn't another one out there that was as fast, I would say, but he just had a hard time putting the woods together with it. So
yeah. Well, sometimes we've talked about it before. We're kind of at the upper limit of what good horsepower actually can do for you in XC racing, especially here in Indiana where there's a lot of tight woods. And I mean, it can be of a help. I mean, there's times when the XC courses opens up and you don't want to get left in the dust, but you can only go so fast through the trees, and at that point it just comes down to technique. You can have 300 horsepower and it will not help you any.
Right. Yeah, there probably wasn't any more than a quarter of a mile of total open space on the 5-mile track, and that was split between 2 open sections. So there really was, it was a lot of follow the leader, a lot of tight stuff, a lot of pretty rough track, honestly. I mean, and even the Andy Bridgewater, the owner of the series, mentioned before the race started, he said, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this is a rough one.
So the round 3 title was Brawl at the Badlands, so it lived up to the billing, huh?
Yeah. There was a lot of tight sections where Matt and I were rubbing tires and tree kickers on both sides going through. There's probably 4 or 5 places like that on the track, and then several very rocky sections, probably a half to 3/4 of a mile creek run. We didn't get a lot of rain there. Actually, the dirt was pretty good out in the open and everything, but because there was so much creek run and you were out and in of the creek run so much, everyone would pick up all the water out of the creek, drag it up onto the banks and everything else, and it just made the whole track muddy at that point pretty much.
Yeah, we've kind of done the typical Indiana really, really ridiculously over wet to we haven't had rain in 3 weeks and everything's a mess because of that now. Everything's hard as a rock, and if it gets wet, it just turns slimy on the top and you can't do anything with it.
Yeah. Well, Badlands is a lot of sand in it, so...
drains out pretty decent.
Yeah, it's not bad, but just they had rain earlier that morning and it just made for... It was a mess. I mean, like I said, I had just thrown my open helmet, like a normal motocross style helmet, in with normal goggles. I didn't have roll-offs with me or anything, and 3/4 of a lap into the first lap, those goggles were useless. So I was, just trying to look out of one eye while I was trying to clean the mud out of the other, and when we get ready to hit the creek, I'd rub my hand across the goggles, and hopefully the splash up would wash them off, and I could use them for another quarter of a lap and get a little bit of vision. But it was pretty bad. You just can't see. You couldn't see anything. We all come out covered in mud and everything else.
And when it's a follow the leader race, I mean, you just get what you get. It's hard to pass.
Yeah, there was really only 2 places to pass, and most of these machines didn't really have the power to just, blow by everybody. You just weren't going to. really the only time you got to pass was if somebody made a mistake on a turn. So.
Well, looking at the results here, had a decent turnout for Pro, which is OpenCC, the top-ranking class there. So it looks like he had 11 on the line. Had a couple DNFs that didn't even turn a lap, it appears.
Yeah, there's a couple guys.
Yep. Both of them made a drive, too. One was, Mitch, I'm going to butcher this last name, Talachka?
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. He was next to us for a little bit, but...
He came all the way down from Wisconsin,
Yep.
And Curtis Boone was from Illinois.
Yep.
So that's kind of a disappointing day when you make a long drive like that and it does not go your way.
Yeah, there were some tight and dangerous spots in there. A few had rocks and a few were stumps and trees and stuff like that. And I know one of them, a stump bit him because it just collapsed the shock. Either it drove it off the A-arm or whatever happened, but it was sitting down in the front end and he was pulled off to the side. I mean, they were okay, but there was just some rough spots.
Well, of the 9 machines that finished, all of them were Can-Ams.
Yeah.
So Ty Phillips was up there in first with Colin Jean in second, Adam Cottrell in third, Mike Larson in fourth, and the one and the only Barry Miller finished in fifth place.
Yep.
And rounding out the class, Brad Ashby was in sixth, Matt Hecker in seventh, Tony Reed in eighth, and Ben Cottrell down there in ninth.
Yeah. Yeah, Matt and I didn't do bad at all. It was just one of those things. You just couldn't put the wood section together as well as we wanted to. So
yeah,
it
was actually pretty tight. It looks like Ty Phillips ran away with it. He finished.
Yeah, he was a couple minutes ahead.
Yeah, just over 2 minutes ahead of Colin Jean. But then from there on down, basically, Adam Cottrell his elapsed was 1 hour, 4 minutes, 57 seconds. And all the way down to 7th place, you're only up to 1 hour, 7 minutes. Yeah. So it was all basically everybody was within about 2 minutes after that.
Yeah, it was real close. Alan Burton, who was the only single-seater there, he ended up getting third. But I think it was third because of adjusted time, because a 900 behind him actually finished behind him, but was closer than the 30-second line gap.
I got you. Yeah.
So, I mean, that tells you right there it was not a fast-paced course when a 900 is running right there with, a RS1 and even not that far behind Ty. Because I don't know if you have the overall up, Doug, that you could kind of give the times there, but they weren't that far behind him, really.
Let me see. I've got that's the series overall. Let me find that real quick. But yeah, I'm looking at the class results give me overall times, and everybody turned 4 laps that finished. I mean, even the pro turbo machines turned 4 laps. Alan Burton in a single seater turned 4 laps.
Yeah.
And
it really
looking at the
track set up for an RS1 or something like that. I mean, it was tight and just pivoting around. I mean, as many X3s as there were out there, they're actually probably a little bit of a disadvantage because of the extra length of them. But
yeah.
But it was fun. I mean, he still went out there. Ryan Kunkel made it out. We don't get to see him real often. His work schedule just kind of doesn't allow for it. But
yeah, he pulled a second place finish though.
Yeah, he didn't do bad.
Yeah, again, all your 900s and stuff turned 4 laps. I mean, that's just if you finished, you probably turned 4.
Yeah, that's pretty much
that was
happened.
it.
Yeah. But no, it was a good time. The weather held off. It was a little warm when the sun was out, but actually by the time the race started, the sun had gone back behind the clouds. There was a good breeze, and the temperature had dropped to probably, I don't know, low 80s anyway, instead of being 90-something. So, not bad all in all.
Yeah, not too shabby. Looking here, it doesn't want to load the overall because it just doesn't want to. But looking at the series as it stands right now, so we got 3 races in the book, which for knocking on July is really low, but we'll take what we've got.
Yep.
So Colin Jean right now in control in Pro Open, but Barry Miller up there in second place. So Colin's got 39 points, Barry's got 33, which Doesn't seem like a big gap, but honestly, 6 points is a fair amount to make up.
It is. Unless Colin misses one.
Yeah, if he misses one, then that becomes a different story. But if Colin makes them all, he's likely got this thing in the bag, unless he just has a bunch of really terrible races in a row. But even showing up and taking off, as long as it's not a DNF, gets you something.
Right.
So Michael Harrison's in third, Tony Reed in fourth, and Devin Smith down there in the number 5 spot with 25 points.
Yep.
But Devin's only done 2 out of 3, I think.
Yeah, Devin didn't make this one, and I was debating what to do, but like Devin, Jason Bannon, and Michael Plank didn't make this one because the other kind of thing we need to talk about is 834 Powder Coat opened their new shop. They had their grand opening this last weekend.
Yes, they did.
So those 3 guys, Devin, Jason Bannon, and Mike Plank, all brought their buggies there because they are all sponsored by him, and he's done their powder work for a while anyway. They brought him and they put him out on display, and he had a big kickoff opening party thing. So
that's awesome.
I wanted to try and make it there, but it didn't make sense for me to go down to Terre Haute and then go all the way back up to Attica with the drive, and I couldn't justify the time.
Yep. But Matt, honestly, congratulations. That is a huge, huge step forward for you, and super proud of you, and hope that the shop treats you well and just makes doing business that much easier.
Yep. Gonna have to get out there and see it soon now.
Absolutely. Maybe we'll do a little special thing out there.
Yep.
Finally got the overall to load, and Alan was third overall, and Colin Jean was fourth. Looks like Ty Phillips obviously was first, and then Logan Flanagan came in second.
Yeah. And Logan was in a 900, if I remember right.
Yep.
Yeah. So
yes, he was.
That tells you that when a 900's in second over all those other machines, it was just a tight course. Like Power didn't buy you a whole lot.
Nope, not at all. It says unknown brand.
So was he in the?
Oh, okay. It just got written down wrong. I thought maybe he was in a CF Moto or something like that.
No, he was just in a 900 Razor.
Gotcha. So that's basically how the racing stuff lined up over the past couple weeks, and as more series are starting to kick back off and get back in a regular rhythm, we'll have a little more normal updates to bring you, but it's still going to be kind of a patchwork quilt this year. I mean, we're just going to have to deal with what the weather throws us and what certain states and counties are doing in terms of, restricting activities and that kind of stuff. But, as soon as we have racing information, we're going to bring it your way.
Yep. This weekend is Extreme. They're out at Parsons again. Don't think I'm going to be able to make that one. You'll notice different background. I'm somewhere else. So
he is elsewhere.
So I don't think I'll make that one, but there's going to be several of the guys there. We'll get reports. We'll bring it to you guys, I'm sure. There's also a race I think it's at a fair or something like that. It's a short course style race on Sunday. I don't think I'll be able to make it, but I would like to.
Sure. That sounds like fun. Sometimes those are actually just a whole lot of fun, because you just show up, there's really no practice. You just kind of go out there cold. It's a short track. I mean, even by short course standards, it's a short track. It's it's kind of like the old hare scramble. You just go out there and have fun.
Yep, pretty much.
Well, we do want to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors, of course, 834 Powder Coat, who, Matt, we're giving you top billing today because you got the new shop, and we're really excited for you. CW Motorsports, who has been our title sponsor for the year. Watch Communications, who hosts this podcast and our website and everything else we do. They've been very generous in supporting us over the past couple years, actually since the show started, dating back to the previous show even. And Spangs Fab, who, if you need racing parts for your buggy, that is a good place to go. If you need anything from tree kickers to a full cage, they can set you up as well. And CW Motorsports, we don't say this a lot because we assume people know, but if you need pretty much anything for your UTV, they can do it for you. And they basically have the largest used parts selection for Polaris machines you're going to find, and basically the best rebuilt motor program in the industry. I mean, they ship you the motor with an oil filter on it, ready to install in a big plastic tote. It's well packed. You take your old motor, you put it back in that tote, and you put the prepaid shipping label on it, and you send it back. It literally cannot get any easier than that.
Yep. And if you don't even want to contact FedEx or UPS or whoever they're used to ship it that way. You just call CW and they'll schedule it for you even.
Yeah. I mean, it literally could not be any easier to get a new motor in your buggy. So if you're interested, contact CW Motorsports and they will set you up. Yep. You can find us on the web at eminentperformance.com, Facebook and Instagram, Eminent Racing. You can find us on YouTube /Eminent Performance, or just, throw Eminent Performance in Google and you'll probably land there as well. If you want the podcast version of this, just go to iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, whatever program you use to get a podcast on your phone, and look for Eminent Performance and you're going to find us there. Mm-hmm. And if it's not too much trouble, if you're enjoying the content, we'd ask that you leave us a like or a comment or something along those lines, because it definitely helps us grow. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, you can click the little subscribe icon in the lower right corner of the video. And once you subscribe, you can click the little bell icon that pops up, and that will notify you anytime we produce new content and you're dumb enough to watch it.
Yep. Yep, that pretty much takes care of all the stuff this week, I guess.
All right. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for riding along with us, and we'll catch you down the road.